Hello and welcome to this episode of the MediaTech Podcast. We have Nagaris Johnson here with us today.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
He is a graduate of MediaTech and an instructor now. And he is our subject of the Grad You Did episode for, I guess it'll be July-ish, early July when that episode goes up on YouTube. Yeah. So I just wanted to have a podcast and talk with you a little bit about your background, your career, and do a little bit of a podcast spotlight in addition to that Grad You Did for people wanting to learn more and maybe get some ideas on how to get inspired and having a good, successful career in the audio industry, you know?
Cool.
So, and you're the guy to talk to.
All right.
So tell me a little bit about your background and how you first got interested in audio production.
So background-wise, the first introduction was band in middle school. Started out as a baritone player. And as I progressed through, we had so many baritone players, but the school didn't have enough tuba players. So the band director asked me if I wanted to switch over to tuba. And at first I was hesitant, but then it was cool. So tuba was the first introduction of it. And I still can remember learning the language of music, of reading sheet music, and how I thought that was so cool. And when it unlocked in my mind, like the fact that I could read these symbols and interpret it, that, and then play said notes was really awesome. So fast forward into high school, I started wanting to play local radio, whatever was hip on the radio, be it like hip hop, and Cash Money Records was big at that time with Lil Wayne and Juvenile. And so our music teacher was still in the funk and soul days, which was cool that we got to play some of those funk records in the band and stuff like that. But being young and wanted to play stuff that was more modern, the teacher wasn't really for it. So he was like, at first he had this idea that it wasn't music. And so he was like, well, if you can create the sheet music for it, then you could play it. And so I was like, all right, cool. So one of my close friends, Damian Hurd, we got together and we came up with the sheet music. So we wrote the sheet music for local, not necessarily local, but for the modern, the new up-to-date music that was out at that time. So one of the first records was Juvenile, Back That Thing Up, that we wrote and we presented to the band. We called our own rehearsals outside. We had help from a blues artist who's really doing a phenomenal things at this time, Crystal Thomas. She went to the same high school. She went to a HBCU in Mississippi, and she brought back like other hip hop like songs and stuff like that, sheet music. So we learned that too, and then that kind of spurned it into presented to the band director and him actually liking the music. And so we got to perform like Friday at football games and stuff like that, all the sheet music and stuff that we wrote. And so from that, my friend was like, hey, we're going to start a record label and we want you to be the producer. And so like in high school, 10th grade, 11th grade, we was like business minded and was like, hey, we're going to do this thing and we're going to like make money off of it.
That is so cool. At an early age, man. That's so cool.
So we just kind of built it from there. And like, had another friend who parents bought him like Beat Machine, and then like he gave it to me, and that was it. Like the Beat Machine never really left my hands, and we just kind of like progressed quality. And the quality aspect of it came from my mom, because she was so used to high quality records from Patti LaBelle or soul singers of that. And so when I came with these new hip hop beats, and she was just like, what is this? Get this out of my car. I don't really want to hear this stuff. And, and it was basically, I took it as the quality of music. So I would like A-B, which I didn't really know about referencing audio at the time, but that's what I navigated towards, was referencing music, what she was listening to versus what I was playing, and the quality aspect of it. So I went on this journey of perfecting quality, and I still remember to this day, like writing papers that I wanted to be an audio engineer when I grow up from high school, and it come to fruition. This is what I do for a living now. It's really cool.
Well, that's super cool, man. I mean, you were telling me, let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
incredible that you were able to write the sheet music to those albums, those records. A part of your style, I was watching you mix a couple of weeks ago, is you were saying that you like to incorporate a lot of actual instruments into your production, right? And in hip hop, that's sort of unusual. I wonder, did that dictate that part of you?
Yeah, for sure. Like, because it wasn't musical, I came at hip hop from a different perspective of understanding, soul music and how everything came together and being tight. So I wanted to incorporate live instruments as much as I could within the music, but also it was more of a mixing thing of, if I understand how a real acoustic kick drum worked and performed, like close mic'd, if I can get the sound from a real acoustic kick drum, then I can produce an 808 that much more punchier. So it was more of understanding we have a history as humans of, real acoustic drums being in our history. So from either way, from hand drums all the way over to, real a drum set, even string instruments like piano, things like that, guitar. These things are like staple instruments in our culture. So for me, I was more of, let me learn how these instrument sounds, get these sounds together. And then from that, I could bridge off and then creating more things from my perspective of what I see and what I envision music to be.
That's awesome. So you're in high school with your buddies and you're thinking, you have a very business mind at that time, which obviously is unusual for high schoolers, How did you bridge the gap from that until your first actual professional experience? Or how did you decide how to navigate the professional world?
The professional world, it started in high school. It started very young, people paying for my music, local, artists, other producers wanting to use my music and things of that nature. So for me, it was always a journey of really following the money. At the end of the day, like, if people are paying me hundreds of dollars and I'm in the 10th grade and I'm producing this music and they're paying me this amount of money, this might be something that I want to develop. So I always wanted to get better. And then obviously the referencing, I still wasn't at a point to where the industry was. So I was still below standard. So for me, it was the journey of, I need to get to standard. I need to get to standard. At the end of the day, the music industry is ever evolving. So I felt like I was behind the curve the whole time. Even though people was paying for the music, within self, I kept it real and was just like, I'm not where I need to be. So therefore I need to work. I need to grind harder. And then, obviously you have to make more money. So getting a job and doing this other stuff, it was key to, producing high quality material that would last. And I wanted, something that people could feel, whether if it's hip hop or soul or whatever. I went into this mode of really just producing how I felt that day to keep it fresh.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what stands out, I think, about your story is even from that early age, you had that eye that takes so long for some to develop, or that ear, I guess, in your case, that comparing your work objectively to where you want to be. I think a lot of kids, I come from a video and film background, but I think a lot of kids are producing, whether it be videos, film, or audio, and they can't look at it objectively, like they look at it and they're like, I'm as good as I need to be, like, why am I not getting work? How did you develop that kind of eye or ear so early?
It was more of the reaction of the people, like certain musical textures, certain rhythms, moved people a certain way than other production compositions that I made didn't. So I was really aware of like what made people move, what made people want that type of music. So I would try to recreate it. If I can make 3 in a row that would make someone move like that, or if I can make 4 in a row that could make someone feel a certain type of way, to where it's instant bypass all of the guards that we put up mentally, that if we can bypass those and speak to someone's soul, then we could essentially, I can make a sale at the end of the day. Like, have something so unique and that speaks to the artist to where they want to buy it right then. So it was more of, okay, creating what I want to create, but also making it marketable. And I think that's where the marketing and stuff like that come into play, and like how I'm creating music. Is this the most marketable thing? Can this hit a universal audience, but also speak to people in different, tax brackets and different, ranges and different cultural living and, urban areas to whatever. It's just like, at the end of the day, it became a journey within self. And I start seeing my music parallel what's happening in my life. And so if I start to get things on track in music, I start seeing my life kind of get on track. So it becomes this parallel of, my music kind of dictating life navigation per se. And so this journey became an internal journey as well, of how deep can I go within myself to realize like the product that I'm putting out, what is it saying, how is it influencing other people and stuff like that. And so that kind of progressed on over time.
That's awesome. I mean, how from high school then, I'm finding that early success and really understanding you have to put the marketing aspect to it. Where did you go from there?
So from the marketing, it was really, again, chasing the money, finding people who was willing to invest in themselves. And so, and if it wasn't paying, it was something that an artist that I just genuinely wanted to work with. Mm-hmm. So either way it go, it was, okay, this is what I value myself. This is how much you'll need to pay for me to work with you. Or, let's come together and I just really want to work with this artist and this is what I want to do. And so therefore I just kind of built it like that. And it was like, I would need this artist to showcase this side of my music, or I would need this artist to showcase this side of my music. And so reaching out to those people and starting to create and curate content kind of helped push me in different areas where I could like piggyback on their success, but also enhance. So understanding the marketing aspect of it all, I kind of lended that marketing tool to the artist so they could grow their fan base as well. So that was one aspect of, I became like a manager almost in a sense to certain artists, where I would guide, not necessarily just tell them everything that they need to do, but just guide them based on what I needed as well, as far as to get my music out there and stuff like that. And then following the money piece was artists that was paying, they typically work with other artists that typically plays, or those artists have competitors. And if they come out with a nice song, their direct competitors is coming to me and saying, hey, you made this record for them. I want a record the same way. Okay, well, this is how much it costs. And essentially people put their money where their mouth is, and they essentially pay for marketing, and they'll pay for big records, and they pay for touring, and then it kind of just landed to where I was able to be a part of those records that they pushed out nationally and pushed out, and it kind of assisted my brand as I progressed throughout the industry.
So you're getting your name out there, working with these artists, and you mentioned you would do some free work early on, depending on who the artist was. I think that's super important for people to realize, is that to get your name out there, you have to do those kinds of things. As you're getting your name out there and you're starting to build your brand and market yourself, what made you make the decision to come to school?
National radio. So the moment I hit national radio and we started charting in the region, then it's like, okay, cool. Like I'm no longer competing against local producers and engineers. Like now I'm on a national level, like the industry is listening. We are taking meetings with, the big three labels, and they're like, they want to sign, they're offering hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's like, okay, cool. If you get a number one record, the industry is going to be knocking at your door. You better be ready. So therefore, I need to go get the technical knowledge. Like I've self-taught reading and things like that, but it's like you're going to be working in studios. You're not going to be working in a small trailer, or you're not going to be working in a small home, a one bedroom, just work. You're going to be working in facilities, and you're going to be traveling from New York to Nashville to LA and Chicago. It's just get ready for it. So it was like, okay, cool. I got to prepare myself. So that the group was going on tour. I decided to go to school to get the technical, and it's one of the best decisions I've made. Like people die to go, like to travel and be on tour and stuff like that. Like they would love that. That's like one of their main goals. But I understood like whatever got me in this situation, the hard work, the dedication is what I need. Those situations will always come up if you're on your game, if you continue to progress. And so was my mentality, because every year I saw growth within the music. So it was like every 2 years or every 3 years, I would look back and listen to productions that I made and was like, oh man, I really thought that was jamming, but it's just okay. Like now I'm making more music and I'm thinking that this music is jamming, and 3 years down the line, I could listen to it and be like, it's okay, but it's definitely growth from year 2 to year 5. Like there's growth there. So if I just stick to working hard, developing, in 5 years, I could be so much ahead of everyone else that's in my field if I just stick to it. And so that's kind of been the journey of just every day waking up, accomplishing something, trying out different things, how to be more efficient in mixing, better organization, things like that to enhance it. Customer service is so key too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to that in a second. But when you first decided that you wanted to go to school, which must have been at least a sort of difficult decision, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a difficult decision. I mean, touring the nation, having the finances to do whatever you wanted to do on touring or going to school and developing this thing. So it was like, at the end of the day, when you really look at it, you could tour, you can go experience these things, or you could develop yourself, and you know that you have this sense of it's gonna happen again. Like these opportunities will come more. Like if you're on it and you're still producing and don't give up, like you'll have these opportunities again. Because if the amount of work that you put in and got you to this situation and you're able to navigate, imagine, bigger artists at that scale. Like you're touring with a bigger name and things like that. So it's like, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna develop myself, and it'll come back at the end of the day. And then I can go and I can be ready for whoever at any city, work with any artist that I come in contact with, and be really confident that I can deliver.
And maybe a lot of the guys don't have that. Like when they first, step out of the industry and they maybe decide to put a school off or actual technical learning off for a while, and they don't have that core education to lean on. When you first got to, or what factored into your decision to come specifically to MediaTech?
Family. I had married, kids, so I couldn't go off to out of state universities, or I didn't want to do online. I wanted hands-on. And so I had friends that came to MediaTech and the Sound Lab through schools and stuff like that. I felt like if I get the technical, if I understood the science behind what I was doing, so I kind of knew technical, I knew how to route, I knew things about audio, signal flow and things like that. But when it was like the technical things behind the science behind delays, the science behind reverbs, the science behind compressor, once I understood those tools, I was able to use those tools to develop my sound. I was able to use them more efficiently. It wasn't a guess. So a lot of times engineers, they're literally guessing. There's like, okay, I kind of know what a compressor does. I'm going to use it and hopefully it come out and sounds right. And sometimes you get really lucky and you're like, you get it and it's like, oh, wow, like it sounds right. And then you try to reproduce the process. And that's kind of like the scientific mind of mine. Like I have to do it more than once. Like I need to test this hypothesis. If this compressor setting is right, I need to do it again and make on another record and see if I can get it to sound that way again. But and then most of the times those settings didn't work. So I was like, I need to know what the compressor is doing so I can use it efficiently. And so getting the science behind all of the tools, what makes certain preamps sound the way they do, that enhanced my sound. Because at the end of the day, my main goal was to not put tags in my music to identify myself. It should be my sound. It should be, soon as the record comes on, that's a Nagaris record. That's the end goal for me, is like, the sound is so unique, that's my record. When you hear a Timbaland record, that's a Timbaland record. When when you hear a Dr. Dre, the drums and the clarity, that's a Dr. Dre record. I want that same identifying sound to where it's like when you hear this, it's like, oh, Nagaris must have mixed that, or Nagaris must have produced that record. That's the ultimate thing for me.
Did you continue working through school?
I continued working every day that I would learn something new. I would add that to my vault and go work on it post class. So having teachers and instructors who was working in the analog days, who's seen the transition from analog into this digital world, into now this digital concept of replicating analog gear in this digital format. Having those instructors that have been through that helped guide me to where I didn't have to worry about or go down certain paths that they had to go through, that kind of they worked around and kind of experienced and went through heartache or whatever, and then coming to this realization of where they are now. I was able to bypass all those things just because of like their legendary status here at MediaTech. So I kind of like it fast forwarded me like 10 years of, instead of going down this road of like, I'm just going to learn it myself and, having some success beforehand, and you think, well, I don't need school. Like I can learn this. I'm doing it on my own. Well, you do, because it's like that technical piece really enhanced and fast forward my life. I would say 10 years.
Wow.
And so like after I graduated, it was more of like, I'm ready to go. Like, give me an artist. and it was really a more too like, I now know I can charge more money too. Like I was like, I am so ready for this next artist, and I'm charging this amount of money for my product because I know what it's gonna do. And sure enough, someone hit me and was like, messaged me on Facebook and was like, hey, I want you to produce this record. I sent over a 5-figure number, and they was like, we'll pay that. And I was like, all right, cool. And I recorded it in an apartment. It just so happened that the lady who was typically complain of noise, her apartment flooded. And so we had like 3 weeks, 3.5, 4 weeks to get this album done without no noise complaints. And so I literally recorded this record, and we got put on a ballot for the Grammy. So it was just like, so fresh out, like first project where I'm so ready. And we recorded this record in an apartment in the closet or whatever, and it came out. The quality of it came out. And shout out to my mastering engineer, Michael Curtis, who really brought the mastering and brought it to levels and stuff like that. But it was such a fun experience. And from then, like the confidence really shot up, because I really kind of knew what I was doing. Like I felt confident in going into a studio, working with any artist. And for me, that was the best feeling ever, of understanding that I'm confident in going into the studio with whatever artist. I'm efficient in Pro Tools. I'm efficient in mixing. I'm efficient in production. I understand, music theory. So when I'm working with musicians, if they're saying that we're going to 2 to 5 to 4, whatever, I understood that language. And I also, from working at Funimation as an ADR engineer, I understood how to guide the artists psychologically to put them in the right character set for whatever song that they was wanted to sing, whether it be a love song, happy song, sad song, to get them in the right mindset from working.
So there's a whole section of people out there that if they heard you say, just mention Funimation just in passing, they're like, wait, what? Stop. Like,
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. Your experience, was that before MediaTek?
No, post MediaTek. So MediaTek, you're allowed to, well, one of the core classes is post-production, and you have to totally take all of the audio off of film. So you get to choose what film you want, whether it be like Dragon Ball Z or, Hellboy or whatever. You get to take a minute and a half, take all of the audio off, and then reproduce the audio. So you're doing the sound effects, you're getting the voice talent in, redoing the voices, dialogue, music, all of those things coming together, you're making your sound. So movie. So I wanted to do something more difficult. And for people out there, when you're going through school, I just want to say this. When you're going through school and you're going through, challenge yourself. Because at the end of the day, like if you just do the bare minimum that's required, you're going to get the bare minimum out of that particular project. But if you set a standard that you want to do, you're going to gain more from challenging yourself to accomplish that. And so that's what I did. I chose a movie, and the teacher saw it, and next thing I know, I got a email from Funimation. Didn't even apply. Just got an email that was like, "Hey, you be interested in coming over here and talking to us?" So went over, talked to him. Things was good. Started working for him and started recording voice actors for some of the top anime. So that experience alone, working at Funimation, the brand of Funimation, one, but two, the workflow that happens at Funimation. The shortcut speed of placing like audio and making it match the flaps of the cartoon. That per speed of working that fast enhanced my music ability so much. So I'm so much more quicker than like the average engineer, solely based because I worked at Funimation.
That's so cool.
And then the psychological part of it is, I worked in, and his name is Cliff Chapin III, and Cliff really was very detailed in getting the characters into the right mindset. So he would explain, we're at this time, we're at this time period, this is your character, this is what happened, and this is what you need to do, or whatever. This is everything that happened leading up to this point, and now you're this character. And then the voice actor would fall in the character, have a voice, and then project and actually capture what he wanted, and he would guide them. And I went through a season, and I was just engineering. I was so focused on my job as audio that I really wasn't paying attention to what the director was doing at the time. And so after like the second season, I was more relaxed at my job, and I really kind of understood what he was doing, and it hit me, and I was like, oh wow, like I could do that for music. Like I can do the same thing that he's doing for the voice talent. I can do this for artists in the studio. And so that when the first record, I was like, it was an experiment too. So to be able to guide and actually listen to the artist, and is it coming across the way that the artist wants? So understanding the vision of the artist, of what they're saying, and is it coming across the speakers that same way? And so getting him in the right mindset. Well, you can't be happy if you're talking about a sad song or whatever, you know what I mean? And so like, I need you to feel more hurt or whatever in this record or whatever. And so that kind of led into like, oh man, like I really feel these records. And that was new to me per se, like the actual vocal, not the music making you feel a certain way, but the content and the vocal making you feel a certain way as well. And when they mesh and when it's unified, then you have a solid record. And that all stemmed from working at Funimation. So I told Cliff, when I win my Grammy and I'm on stage, I'm thanking him. He's definitely making the Grammy speech.
That's so unique. Like that kind of, like, who would have thought that experience at an anime studio would dictate how you produce records, like that's so unique and so cool.
Yeah, I always feel like wherever I'm at, I'm there for a reason, and just be in the moment and suck up like, what am I here to do? Like, even though like I could be getting paid to run live sound for an event or a conference, but I get access to that knowledge too. So for instance, if it's Sonic and I'm the sound guy who's got the microphones and stuff set up for their conference, and they're giving us real-time data that they just spent millions of dollars on, a study of workers or how millennials think in the workforce or whatever, then I can use that information for my music when I'm making. So I know young people they just spent millions of dollars studying this stuff, and I just got access to that information, and I got paid to be there. So it's like being in that moment where I'm able to utilize that information and then take it in the real world and apply it to what I'm doing to gain an edge. Because at the end of the day, it's still competition. Like, people I went to school with, we was friends in class, but once I walk off that stage, we can work, but I'm still competing. Like, I want to be the top. Like, in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. So
I love that.
I got them in my sights. And if you guys sleep during, take a Christmas break, just know I'm working.
That's intimidating.
You want to take Thanksgiving off? I'm working all the way through it.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell me how you became an instructor here at MediaTech and what that experience has been like.
Once I understood like from reading the books and reading the materials and understanding, I feel like I'm such a slow person that if I could teach myself, I'm pretty sure I broke it down to small enough chunks where I can I can teach someone else. So it was like people would ask me questions because I understood it, and classmates and other, like even the instructors, I would know things that they wouldn't know just because I would like overly read things and like follow this chain of like why this happened within the DAW and how things work. And so I kind of found myself being like this resource for other people. They would call and be like, I'm having this issue, technical support per se for digital audio workstations. And so I was like, this is pretty cool, just like shining lights. Being that beacon for people. And so I talked to Wes and I was like, this is really what I want to do. And so it was like, okay, let's see what we can put together. And I got the call. I was like, came in, and at first it was just a tech position. And I was just like, okay, I can really, from the tech position, I saw how, the technicians were when I was going to school, and how I wanted to affect change in it and really guide people, speed them up on the process, breaking it down, things that they considered difficult, making it more easy for them. And so I kind of started working out a curriculum as I was going through, like how to explain the console to someone who had no idea what it was. And so from that, and to see them grasp it and understand it and the light come on, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, I have to be a part of this. And so that kind of pushed me even further to want to go into education. And the second thing was, once you teach, the information is so ingrained in you.
Yeah.
At that point. So it's like, if I can really like become the audio. Like I really like, I don't want to work anywhere else. I want to become the audio industry, where every day I wake up and I think about the audio industry. Because when I think of entertainment lawyers and things like that, and instructors, that the way that they view the world, they view it through their industry. Like they see things and they like, oh, that's an awesome manager. That manager did this, this, and this. They see the world differently. And so for me, I wasn't seeing the world like that. I was seeing the world like music sometimes and audio, and then this other life where I had to go like be a security guard or go do work at a food manufacturing. And so like being quality assurance. And it's like, those are, if I'm putting 8 hours over here, I need to be putting 8 hours over in this other thing. So it was like this journey of making my way to audio full time.
That's really cool. So tell me about the future, man. What's in store for you?
Immersive audio. So taking
that was a quick answer.
Yeah, that's the future. This is where I'm at right now. I still do music in stereo, but for the most part, it is immersive audio. We have a big event coming in October in Vegas with the Recording Artists Guild. And immersive, so music and surround sound, music in Dolby Atmos, 360 audio, basically making music surround you, and the audience becoming a part and experience the audio. So that's where it's at. Like, and I'm developing the curriculum and teaching people how to produce music in surround sound. Surround sound has been out a while, but I don't think anyone is doing it like we're doing it in immersive.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that must be like to take full advantage of that. Like, it's going to be interesting to.
It's pretty cool. The new Lexus got 23 speakers in it.
Oh my gosh.
Built for immersive technology. They're setting the standard for the next 10 years. And so we're one of the largest content providers of the medium right now. So this is where we at. Just pushing it forward.
That's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, and living true MediaTech success story of doing what you love what you do. Like, that's the best motto for MediaTech. It represents what I'm about, what my company is about, and the school, the teachers. We all do what we love. We love what we do, and that's the message that we want to push. But also keeping it real with our students. Like, look, if you really want to be successful at this is what you need to do. These are the actions you need to take. These are the requirements. These are the things that you need to push, and you will make it.
That's really cool. So for someone that might be listening to this that's, in high school or might be trying to figure out how to be successful as a producer, what would you say to them?
Work with the artists. Work with some of the best artists in the city. Work with great artists, create great materials. The best part about it, though, is you have to understand, I feel like, during the creating process is when you have that feeling of you're doing the right thing. Not post once you, if you sell 1 million records or whatever, that's like icing on the cake. But as you're creating, that's when you have the best feeling of working with the artist in the studio, because you create an experience. If you can create an experience in the studio, they're going to come back and want to be a part of whatever you're doing. They want that experience again. So if you can create that in the creating process and going through it, the spirit in which you do it, that's where you'll get your reward from, and the earth will reward you accordingly.
I love that. So great, man. So tell people where they can find you.
www.nagaris.com. Social media info is all on the website. You can see what we're doing with Immersive. Also at MediaTech, go to MediaTech.edu. Check out the faculty spotlight. I'm up there.
Oh, great. And if you want to learn more about Nagaris and haven't seen it, there is an episode of Grad You Did on the MediaTech YouTube channel by the time that this podcast goes up. Definitely check it out. You can learn more about him and more about MediaTech. Definitely subscribe wherever you're listening to this, whether it's YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you might be, iTunes, wherever. And if you're on YouTube, definitely hit that little notification bell to make sure that you're notified every time that a new upload gets out, because we're going to be doing lots of podcasts, lots of cool tutorials. You'll probably see more of this guy right here.
Yeah.
And
fun times.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. You guys are doing an amazing job, man. So yeah, you make sure you hit the subscribe button, give us a like on the video, and then check out MediaTech, man. It's an amazing school. We have amazing leadership here, and it's just an amazing place to be at. And you got access to so many tools. So I just wanted to leave that with you guys. MediaTech.edu. Come check us out. It's an amazing facility. We got web development, film, audio. It's
animation.
It's a lot. Like, we are the industry right now. This is where we at.
This is the place to be. And Dallas and Houston.
Houston campus.
Come tour the place.
Come check out a tour. Get with Eddie. Get with Heather. Get with our admission staff. These people are amazing people. I'm telling you, you'll like it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
No problem, man.